the way that I would describe this track is pure, unadulterated fun and power. And I think that's the whole point of Rammstein. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be taking on Rammstein, that band from Germany that it's way too popular, and I assume that is because of their own merit, because they are actually a great band. Just disclaimer, I'm not a fan of the band, but I have huge respect for them, and it's been a good while since I actually listened to this track to the level of detail for today's analysis. So, if this is your jam and you wanna see what I think about this track, please feel free to join and stick around because it's gonna be wild. But before we go, if this is your first time on the channel, I welcome you because in here we analyze the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer using language that everybody can understand, in a way to expand our knowledge when it comes to music production and songwriting. So if this is your jam, let's rock and roll. Here we go. So here we go, Du Hast by Rammstein. Wow! This track is loud but powerful. It's not necessarily a bad thing when you're loud if you're rocking this hard. First thing, I didn't remember this track being so filled to the brim with ear candy. You saw that they were using this reverse effect with one cymbal. It sounds like this. And the way they created that sound is basically just recording a snapshot or just a one shot of the cymbal being hit, in this case the crash, and then they reverse it. And it syncs to the tempo of the track. But it doesn't stop there. They also did this. They pan it from one side to the other. As you can hear right now, my voice is coming from one side of the speakers of your headphones to the other, creating this illusion of it moving, because in reality, it's actually moving from one speaker to the other, but it gives you this sense of motion. And it's very, very clever. And I love how they use it to drive you into the gigantic wall of sound that the guitar is. And of course, let's talk about the tone. Isn't it fantastic? It's one of the heaviest, hardest guitars I ever heard in my life. And still up until this day, I still consider it one of the best guitars ever recorded in history. Why? It's aggressive, it's ballsy, it's super distorted, but every note it's easy to be heard and understood. That's the first thing. Secondly, and I think this is the most important part, the tone actually is designed and shaped. It's created in a way that serves the music so good that it's actually iconic to the point of it becoming the sound of a band, don't you think? At least in my head. It's a prime example on what to do and how to create sound in a way to express an idea. Make sense? I hope it does. Because that's the whole point of music and being a musician. Now, I didn't remember it also being so heavy in the techno-like aspect. By techno, I mean the use of this electronic music kind of style of arrangements. Because I remember, of course, the introduction that is super, super iconic. It's the kind of stuff that once you listen to it for the first time, you never forget it, right? But there are plenty of little details, as I said before, ear candy, that weren't as present in my memory, but it still makes a huge difference and a huge contribution to the sound of the track itself. So good. Also, another detail that took me by surprise. As I said in the introduction to this video, it's been a while since the last time I actually listened to this track with this level of care, okay? But I remember it being a little bit more heavier on the low end. Don't get me wrong, he has plenty of chest hair when it comes to the sound of the kick and the bass. But don't know why I remember it being a little bit more heavier on the low end. But that's a good thing because that shows you how big of an impression it left in me due to the sound and the powerful tone of the entire mix. So good, well crafted. Once we take a look at the analyzer and we discuss the mix in more detail, I will give you some more of my some more details on why I think the sound of the mix is so important. So let's continue. But one thing before we continue rocking to this badass track, please remind me the name of the guitar player because I have even his face in my head right now. I remember. I can't remember his name, but I can remember him. So please help me with that. Let's keep rocking.
Du hast, du hast mich, du hast mich, du hast mich gefragt, du hast mich gefragt, du hast mich gefragt und ich hab nichts gesagt. Willst du bis der Tod euch scheide, treu sein für alle Tage? Nein! Nein! Willst du bis der Tod euch scheide, treu sein für alle Tage? Nein! Nein!
Sorry for interrupting. I know this track just keeps getting better and also develops plenty of momentum. Okay, when I mentioned that the mix is so important, it's because of this very detail. Let's take a look at the screen now. Over here we got Decibel, which is the tool that we use to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. And in here, the first section that we're going to be paying attention to is going to be the frequency range analyzer, which is showing us through the use of this white line how loud each of the different frequencies that could be heard by a human being, which stands from 20 hertz all the way down to 20,000 hertz, how loud they were while the track was playing. And as I mentioned before, even though the sound of the mix in my head felt super heavy, in reality we don't have that gigantic bump in the low end. Don't get me wrong, we clearly have a lot of plenty of energy here, and it's the loudest section. It is indeed, but it's not that heavy on the overly low on the low end, or which one, the sub area, if I am much more precise. But this is so important because the mix portrays the energy so well, so correctly, due to the great job that the arrangement, the people, the band themselves, when they were writing the track and coming up with the different sections and the instrumentation, is so well crafted that it projects this gigantic level of energy that truly hits you. Again, not a fan of the band, but damn it, this is the reason why I respect them so much. They know what they're doing. They clearly know what they're doing. Also, the use of those techno elements, particularly in this second verse, it's super unique because it feels super dated, at least in my head, because it reminds me of those kind of cheesy attempts of being edgy and cool from much more commercial acts from that era that try to do the techno stuff, but in a terrible way. This is a great example of how to do it correctly. Just it reminds me of those terrible ones. And if you happen to know one or think of one, please let me know in the comment section below because they were aplenty back in the day. Now, let's take a look at the screen again. Another element that is interesting to me. The sound of the mix is not that bright, isn't it? It's not that high-endy, but it's very detailed. But it's detailed, especially here. You can see here, the 1,000 hertz. That's where you get the meat and potatoes. This is where our guitar is kicking and destroying the universe in such a great way. But also the cymbals, and this area, you can see here that we got these kind of bumps. I think this is the synthesizer playing that super kind of Super Nintendo sounding sequence or pattern, and I think is represented here. But also it could be the powerful and kind of almost close to being ear-piercing sound of the cymbals. And again, I love the sound of the mix. It's very good. It's unique. It has plenty of personality, and it serves the purpose, which is giving you that raw power energy. Now, the second section of our analyzer is the dynamic range analyzer. And this guy is going to show us how loud the track has been throughout time through the use of this blue blob. The higher it goes, the louder the song was at that particular point in time. And as you can see here, we got the introduction. Not that loud. Actually, it's super quiet when compared to the insanity that is the rest of the track. This is clearly the point on which the guitars and the drums joined. See how much in volume the song grows. Incredible. That's the very reason why this track hits you so hard, because it goes and ramps up in volume so fast and in such a dramatic way. When the guitar and the kick drum joins in, well, the drum kit in general, that it slams you with that fantastic wall of sound. If you happen to know any details regarding the recording of this album, please let me know, because the sound of the guitar, damn it, is fantastic. And I assume that they recorded several layers of guitars, one on top of other, just to get to this dramatic sound. And also, if you happen to have seen them live, please tell me if they managed to recreate this tone close enough for it to, because I think they do. I have never seen them live again, but I think they should be able to do it, because most of this is coming from the know-how of the guitar player on how to craft a guitar tone, but also fingers, of course, it's the performance. Now, coming back to the analyzer, you see here that the introduction to the track was super loud. That's obviously a sound idea, because the louder a track gets, the more exciting and dynamic it is. The quieter it is, the more intimate and personal it becomes. And they did this trick just to slam you with energy and setting the mood and setting the stage for the whole track to develop. Now you'll see here that the track lowers its energy or decreases the amount of volume in such a gentle fashion. Not that much of a difference here, because this is the verse, this is the ramp up for the second chorus, and here it is, slamming it hard. But then, if we go to the second section of the analyzer, or the second point of the song that we reacted to all up until this point, you can see that the second verse is slightly louder than the first. Why? We got more elements that are part of the track. Then the gigantic ramp up again for the guitar to be killing us in such a great way. Then you see these small dips, which is where the happened. So good, so good. Again, I'm not necessarily one of the most biggest proponents of super loud music, but this is one of those examples on which the track requires you to go loud. Now let's finish it off, because the next section is actually, if I remember correctly, is where the track develops even more or adds more elements to the mix. Here we go.
Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich gefragt. Du hast mich gefragt. Du hast mich gefragt und ich hab nichts gesagt.
So good, right? The way that I would describe this track is pure, unadulterated fun and power. And I think that's the whole point of Rammstein. Such a perfect band for this particular genre of music. This is one of those defining, probably seminal bands, and this record I think is one of those records that inspired untold generations of musicians. Great sounding record. Again, I don't know if you could pay attention. Well, I don't know if you could notice how when I press play and the introduction to the next section, they were actually using a particular technique in which they use a different harmonic pattern. I'm gonna go a little bit nerdy on you. The pad, the synthesizer playing the kind of ambience, was playing the same notes or the chords sang by the choir, right? And then the guitar kicked in, playing the same riff as before. But when we have the clashing elements of the two instruments playing different sections of the track at the same time, they change the way that they are understood by us as listeners, emotionally speaking, creating this deeper and much more intelligent sound and mix in general, not mix, a composition in general. So good. That's a sign of great songwriting skills. Now, another thing that I want to point out, did you notice that when the guitar kicked in during that section, it wasn't as ballsy, for a lack of a better term, because it actually showed you that the guitar is not that low ending. Could you hear it? Because it's a little bit more on the mid to the highs. It's a little bit brash to a certain point. Not bad sounding, simply brash. A little bit more on the, yeah, it's brighter sounding. What do I mean by this? They let the kick and the bass be the ones who control the low end of the track intelligently. And when you have the chance to listen to the guitar isolated from the rest of the mix, you can hear that it's not that heavy on the lows. But when the bass and the kick drum are brought back and we reach the final chorus, this song just slams you once again, super hard. That's great craftsmanship. And for those of you who are guitar players, that's what you have to do. Because when you're playing with a bass player and a drummer, the bass and the drums are the ones who are producing the biggest amount of low end energy, the frequencies that correspond to the low end. If you craft the tone of your guitar, trying to cover those spaces when you're playing alone, ignoring the fact that inevitably you are going to be playing with the kick drum and the bass being part of the ensemble, you're going to be adding more frequencies to that particular band that, not necessarily speaking, will make the sound of the music sound better. It's going to just muddy up the entire mix. So just be mindful of that. Again, what a great track. Super energetic, super fun. And I gotta admit that, again, I'm not a fan of the band, but damn it, huge respect. And if you happen to be a fan, please let me know which sort of song I should listen to by these guys, because I know that I picked the most popular one because it's the one I know. I haven't spent that much time with them because, again, it has never resonated that much with me. But if you can show me something that might change my mind when it comes to the sound, to me liking this band as much as you might like them, please do it, because I always in the lookout for great sounding music. Now, if you like Super's channel and you like this kind of content, the best way to do it is by, of course, subscribing, leaving a like, clicking the notification bell, but also by joining us on Instagram and X, because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us on a much more personal basis. And also, if you want to support the band or this effort even further, the best way to do it is by listening to their music on Apple Music or Spotify, which has not that much in common with Rammstein, but I think you're going to like it, because it kind of has elements that might be of your interest. With that being said, the only thing I haven't said to you is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I will see you when I see you.